Hello everyone, Don here with the first update of the year for 2022. Sorry it's taken so long, but ever since my last video, I guess was back in October, this winter's been really cold and nasty all year. Just up until last week, the temperatures here have been 30s and 40s, barely hit 50s. So what I did manage to do is do a little work on the car. The work on the Corsair is slow, but I did do a couple little things now that we're finally getting into some warm weather. Yesterday was like 80 some degrees, humid, windy. I had to go out and cut down a tree this past week and was cleaning the rest of that up yesterday. Finally got the one tree in my front yard stumps finally all done out there. As you can see, that there had 13 different trees in there I cut down, so I finally got the last one cut down, burnt down far enough to finally bury the thing. So that's kind of what I did. And then I had to come over and cut this tree down where I have the fire ring around it right now. As always, trains run through here about every 10 minutes. So anyway, a little bit of update on the Corsair. I did take off my little covers here, and remember the last time they were still stuck on there on some tape, clear tape. So I got them all trimmed down to size. And I found out that because of the way my little teardrop come back, it's going to be a little farther back than the opening is. So I'm going to cut about another ½ inch out of this. You can see a pencil line on there. That's how much I want to take off of here. And then I'll put some pieces either in here or here, for probably in the front and the back, for little nut certs for screws, little Tinnerman nuts for sheet metal screws to anchor those on. Won't take much to hold them. So I got both of those cut out, shaped. Like I said, I just got to lengthen opening on that a little bit. So I did that, and then once that's done, then I can come in here and get all these things, all these hinge bolts finally nutted up and safetied with cotter pins. Get all these done. I did make a pattern to get the elevator trim tab cut out and bent up. It's probably just going to be a piece of thin aluminum. We got so much stuff in the way right now, so it'll be nice to get that airplane out this year. Get it over to the airstrip. Here's my little template I was looking for. So that's basically the trim tab for the elevator. I have a real thin piece of aluminum here. It's like 2024, so I'll bend it up, see what it feels like. If I have to, I can put a piece of foam inside of it to make it stronger if need be, but I'm going to give that a try first if it's big enough. And then the other situation I'm running into is when the cowling's on, when I go to use the warp drive propeller hub, not this one, but when I use this hub on there, it's within, when the prop's on here, the cowling is like only an inch away from the prop, which it clears right now at a very low pitch, but if I have to pitch the prop up enough, it may want to rub on the cowling. So what I need to do is put at least a 1 inch, 1.5 inch spacer on there. So I went in and dug out an old propeller and hub that I had, hub extension off my old gyrocopter, because this is plenty thick enough. I could have just cut it off and then bored it out and did what I need to, increase the bolt size. Problem is, the bolt pattern's smaller on this one. So what I ended up doing is buying a big chunk of 6-inch aluminum. But like I say, I only need 1.5 inches or so. It's going to have a protrusion sticking out on it, like this is meant to fit over the old hub on the gyro. I got to do the same thing for the airplane, countersink it, but the front side also has to have a boss sticking out of it. And then I also need to put the steel lugs in there that the propeller will actually lock onto, just like this hub here. So I got to do this. So these will have to be counterbored in the back of the spacer to lock it, and then I got to put the spacer in these lugs in the spacer to lock the prop to it. So the idea of that is when you put the bolt through here, and a lock nut on the back side, you're not putting the shear force on the bolts, you're putting the shear force on these dowels. So those are just pressed in from the back. But I can't do that with the other one. I can't make spacers to do this. They'd have to be a step spacer, and it's just too complicated to deal with. So I'm going to have to make bushings to put in the front, and they'll probably come all the way back and touch these, so when everything's tightened up good, it won't go anywhere. But those are to keep from shearing the bolts. It puts the force of the engine torque on the propeller hub and not the bolts. So, because I've heard a friend of mine years back had an ultralight with a Rotax hub on it, and it did just that. It sheared all 6 prop bolts, but they were, small metric, for like a Rotex. And it threw the prop, and they ended up crashing into a fence at the end of the runway and killed him. So what I finally did, it did finally get an anchor mounted here to there to keep this from working its way out as it heats up, because again, there's just a pair of O-rings in here that holds this on, and when it gets under pressure, it may tend to slip forward with vibrations and such. So that's to help hold that in place. And then the last, then I still just need to put some kind of brace, probably coming from here to like this point here, just to keep that from flopping around. So I got to make that, and then that should be it for the motor. And then the last thing is getting me some high strength aluminum foil tape to tape all the way around this thing here, because again, the airflow is coming through here, and this is just a ceramic insulation, and you can see that will probably just peel off. So I just got to clean up the little dirt. It looks dirty, but I guess it's not really dirty. I'll put some glue on the perimeter here. Some of this adhesive I got, high temp adhesive. And then I'll tape that in real good with some foil tape and help keep the air from blowing that thing apart. And I can put the cowling on. The fuel tank is ready to go back on, other than I just got to, it's finally warm enough now I can get some paint out and touch up these little spots around the tank where it chipped, because this all had to be cut open after it was finished up, because the tank was on and it was glassed over, not glassed over, but filler to make it all match. That's the micro balloons, the epoxy filler. So, but I had to literally go around and cut along the seam to get that out. So you can see there's some light chipping there. So I just wanted to touch that up. But the tank can go back on. Everything can finally be finished up on that. Then there's just a few more decals to put in on switches, and I got to mark some relays, the retract relays for the mains and tail wheel, so I know which relay is for the up function, which one's for the down. The canopy, I'm probably not going to use that canopy. I'm just not happy with it. It's originally meant to basically sit like this. You can see I've got an extra lip sticking out here. It should stop right at this curve, and it should fit like that. Right now you can see it's overlapping almost an inch here, but it needs to be cut clear back here. And at that point it gets this really close here, and it's leaving a gap here. But I do have to put a frame around this, so the frame will seal, kind of help seal all this. But I got one piece of plexi left to try and make a new one, and then when I use the mold, I'll just push the mold back far enough, or farther forward against the edge of this, to get the maximum length out of the back. So I mean, that one's fine, it'll work, but until I put on and then here it's really has to be pulled down to fit there. So but I'd have to put some aluminum trim around there to seal it up, and I'd like that canopy just to be back farther. So I'll make another one. Like, again, I have to wait for this temperature really to warm up to do that. I mean, I need something to get up in the upper 70s, 80s in the shop, so when I open the door, the plexiglass isn't going to cool down that quick, and it'll give me some stretch time, some time to get the stretch in. So basically, I just need to kind of go over this stuff, and as I can see here, I probably need to safety or tie wrap that out into place and get some safety wire on this Canon plug connection there, and that should be about it. Put gas in it, and I already charged the battery, so it's ready to go. And then the next major hurdle is getting this thing picked up in the air so I can swing the gear and get the gear door mechanisms adjusted, and hopefully those will work. I mean, in theory they should work, but I got to do final adjustment. So that's basically the update on this. The swinging of the gear, tail wheel, and I got to do the same to the tail wheel. Get the doors final adjustments so when they close, they're closed up good. That their little piece of wood is the where the joystick comes out through here. I got to put that back in because I took that out to make it easier to label everything inside. And I'll put that back in, get the seat cushion and all that back in place, and should be about done. I've already got the end number reserved, so I just reserved it again. So hopefully not too long I should be able to get the FAA in here and give her the final inspection. I still have to make the covers for the bottom of the wings. That's that sheet of aluminum again here. This big sheet is meant to make those covers that cover up the access for getting to the bolts to pull the wing and the controls. But everything else I think is good to go. So, but what I have been doing lately is tinkering with this, since I don't really need much heat. Problem is that I started using diesel fuel in my old torpedo heater to heat the room, but now the diesel fuel, I'm not sure where it is around your area, but it's over $6 a gallon now. And kerosene was at either $3.99, I think it was $4.99, like $5 a gallon. So I just stopped using heat altogether. So I've just been working on stuff that I don't really need much heat for. As you can see, I cut the roof out of the Mustang project for the T-top frame, and then you can also see that the interior is black now, the floor pan, and it's not bed liner. This is it looks like bed liner because it's sprayed on with a bed liner gun, and it is a thick material. So I did that. I'll show you what that is here, and then this is the actual color that the car will be. That's it's called a poly silver or silver poly. This is just the base coat because I'm going to be putting in this T-top frame. I needed to paint all this silver, and I even sprayed that sound aiding material on the roof to kind of help with rain noise. So I oversprayed it with the silver also, the metallic silver. Because if you ever get in the car and have to pull down headliner material or trim, I want you to see the silver inside and outside of the car, so you'll have no reference that this thing was ever blue. And I just kind of mixed up enough, and I was just spraying around everywhere I could. It's just going to stay the silver base coat with no clear. It doesn't need to be cleared, and it's not going to be susceptible to solvents. So I did that, and then I had to paint. When fitting this T-top frame in there, it wasn't going in right. I couldn't get these holes to match up the holes that I pre-drilled in the windshield bow, and it turned out that this piece and this piece is all spot welded together. They were spot welded together crooked. This piece was crooked this way, this piece was crooked that way, and the opposite on that corner. So when I lined this up, the roof line wouldn't line up. And if I lined the roof line up, this wouldn't line up. So it turns out this thing was crooked, and I didn't want to take it apart, but I ended up drilling out like 40 some holes to get these two pieces separated. And good thing, because the inside of these parts, all these sheet metal parts, the top part, bottom part, they weren't painted. They were unprimed, so they were rusted up, so I had to clean all that up. Now this is just a acrylic enamel, black, that I had bought years ago, so I used it, and I sprayed this yesterday, and it was still kind of cool and humid out. But this you won't see because the headliner goes in there and covers it. It's painted this side, and I just got to flip it over and then paint the other side. And then that's the side you'll see. You'll see this whenever you pull the T-tops out. You'll see this inner piece. There's a lot of rubber trim in there, but you will still see the center of this part. And it was a gloss paint on the original. I think I probably mentioned my exhaust system that I was working on. Everything's cut and tacked and fitted. So that's all ready to be double checked for final fit before I finish welding. And then I have the X pipe. It's all tied into the Dynamax turbo mufflers. I always loved the sound of these things. The only problem was I couldn't get them in stainless. Everything else is stainless. That is stainless, but I believe it's 409 because it's magnetic. So the bottom of the cars before has already been done in the Raptor bed liner material. So that's kind of where the car is. What I'm going to do is finish this T-top. I just need to paint basically what is the top side of that. Like I say, this is all done now. It did finally cure nice. So I need to flip it over, paint it, and then I can permanently install it. And that has to be installed with these heavy-duty 1/4-inch pop rivets. These big guys. And these are sealed. You can see the ends of these there are no holes in them, so they're sealed when they pop. And then in order to pop those, I had to buy a heavy-duty pop rivet gun. This thing here, they're all over eBay, anywhere from 20 bucks to $30, $40. And I bought this one, it was like $19.95 free shipping. And I was kind of leery on how well it would work with these heavy 1/4-inch pop rivets. It'll even do bigger rivets than the 1/4-inch. That's the 1/4-inch, and then there's one more that's even bigger than that right there. So, but I tell you what, I put them in there, it popped them like they were butter sticks. They were seriously easy. These are some more parts that have to be painted black. Those are kind of the trim pieces that go in. I guess this one goes in down here. But it goes in like that, and that's where the T-top actually locks into. And then this has to pop rivet on the inside of the car. It goes, that there sets right against the frame, so it's very crucial on where this roof is cut. As you can see, it's cut flush basically with this. That's right there, and then you have to cut this to match the front frame. So that's kind of where I'm at, but I'm going to go ahead and finish this, get this frame in there, and then I'll get onto the Corsair and finish up those little pieces. Hopefully the temperature will come back up and I can attempt making another canopy, and then I'll get that locked down. Get the tail cone cleaned up. I'll have to do a little paint touch up on that, get that installed. Get the trim tab on, get those closed up, finished and painted, and we should be on our way. Not much to do, but now that the weather's finally turning, like I said, the weather, that's like last week we had 70-degree weather all week. It was beautiful, and I was out working on some of this stuff. But it still wasn't warm enough to work with the canopy. But so I got to get rid of some of this stuff to make room to get that furnace back down there where I can plug it into power and get it away from any wind blowing in from these doors, you know. So that's kind of where I'm at. Oh, this is the material spectrum that I bought. I bought 2 gallons of it, and I used that whole gallon to do this, and that goes all the way on there. I didn't want to go all the way up in because all that's going to get painted silver. I might just paint this all silver anyway. And that goes all the way up through the firewall and all the way up underneath the cowling. So all to help out with sound deadening. I try not to get too much on here because this will get painted silver just like this. But I may end up just doing the whole car because I bought a whole gallon of paint and it's mixed 1-to-1. So you reduce it 1-to-1 with reducer and it gives you 2 gallons. But again, I have to do all the inside of the doors, inside of the hatch, inside of the hood, engine compartment. So I should have enough. But that's a basic color right there, and then that'll be cleared. So, well, I know a lot of guys probably want to see mostly the updates on the Corsair, but temperature, like I said, has just been absolutely miserable up here. Cannot believe it. It's done this before. If you go back into my videos, you'll see where it's been like May, June before I could actually get out here and do anything. That was before I got the place all insulated in. But the weather's just so crummy up here. It's just terrible. And it's like 52 degrees out right now. So, and it was 80 yesterday and humid. So now it's cool and damp. Alright folks, that's going to do it for this update. I'll try to keep these things coming every weekend. I should be able to get this in this week. Just tomorrow, still only supposed to be 60 degrees. But I got to get that painted and get that installed. And then I'll get on the Corsair and try to knock that out. I need to pull that stuff out, get the gyro out, get the Corsair out, and get everything cleaned up. Here's the section of the roof that I cut out. But I need to get all this stuff outside and give the airplane a bath. You know, it's covered in dust from all the working on the car, sanding and such. You can see how filthy it is. Absolutely filthy. Just dust. And of course, there's the gyrocopter same way, just covered in dust. Get them out, clean them off, kind of clean up the room some. I need to get me some more cloth, what's called flannel, to put on there. The old flannel, when I was working with that thing, it had the epoxy didn't set, and so the cloth got stuck to some of that dripping. You can see the runs there from the epoxy. It got on the old cloth, so if I try to put it back on, it's probably going to get into the finish of the canopy. So I just need to get another piece of flannel and recover that, and then get this thing trimmed down to the size I need, and we'll see if we can make another one. Either way, even that one fails, I can use that as a backup and make another one later. But we got to get her done, get it out of here. Make you guys happy, make me happy. And then I got to get my medical updated and get a biannual flight review, then I'll be legal again. So, alright folks, that's going to do it for this week's update. Hopefully next week I will show you the T-top frame in, and then hopefully have something going on the Corsair. At the very least, get it cleaned. So, alright, I appreciate everyone taking their time to watch these videos as always, and feel free to leave any comments, questions, or concerns, and I'll get this thing posted tonight and you guys can vent. Alright, thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you later. This is Dino Don out.